Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Ken's TV and the House Like Kitchen Sinks. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Now, with no further ado, let's get into this afternoon's video, if you will. 2:55 Sunday afternoon. Got about 3.5 hours until the Super Bowl starts. I'm rocking with Kansas City. However, I did want to reach out, and there is a message today. Definitely a message. It's been a few days since I posted anything. And I was actually inspired. You know, I was watching Jay Williams' Let's Live Life. Shout out to Jay Williams. He did a video, I want to say it was yesterday, the day before, a couple days ago. And basically he was talking about, you know, the different prison guards, you know, the different personalities that you deal with in prison as far as the you know, correction officers. And it took me back because he's actually 1,000% on point with everything that he's telling you. So I decided to do kind of like a, I don't know, reaction video, you know, a Jay Williams reaction video. It's been a while since I've done one. And, you know, I can recall several different officers. I'm just going to call them by name. You know, I don't really have any, you know, I just use names. But, one particular officer, called him Justin Bieber. Kind of looked like Justin Bieber. A little young dude. He was probably 22, 23 years old. Cool as a fan. Cool as a fan. He's the officer to where when you see that he's coming on to work, you know, whatever shift, he works second shift. So I believe second shift was like 3 to 11, 3 to 12, something like that. When you seen that he was working, man, you know you're going to have a laid back day, a laid back time. Justin Bieber was so cool, man. He didn't bother nobody. Not only did he not bother anybody, he'd come and kick it with you. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, inmates don't really talk to the police like that as far as, you know, sitting around kicking. But this dude was different, man. Like, he would see you doing dirt, he'd just turn his head, or you might just watch. He ain't gonna say nothing. He was there merely just to get a check. You see what I'm saying? He didn't bother a soul, man. I never will forget, you know, people used to do drops. Now, a drop is like this particular prison where I was at, this was a work camp. So this particular place where I was at, there was no fence. And when the people would drive by, they would just throw whatever, you know, they was dropping. It was like a big old field, and they would just throw it in the field. Well, dudes, you know, they got cell phones. They got, so, yeah, I just made the drop. Justin Bieber's on. You run out there, it's about, I don't know, maybe about half a mile to the road, and you get somebody that's real fast. See what I'm saying? They run all the way, grab the bag, bring it back, and that's how, that was one of the ways they was actually getting stuff in. Justin Bieber, man, he just turned his head like he don't even see you. You see what I'm saying? So he's one of the CEOs that you definitely wanted him on. Cool dude, never wrote nobody up. And, you know, shout out to Justin Bieber. He no longer works there. He didn't get fired or anything, but, you know, it just wasn't his thing. He, you know, they were trying to make him like, you know, be a jerk, and it just wasn't any. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of the CEOs that, you know, you're going to deal with. And there's a Justin Bieber everywhere. Then you had a Tutor. Tutor was a lady. Now, Tutor was one of those type people that she knew the handbook front and back. I'm talking about, she would sit at home, and she told us, she would sit at home, or she would sit in her office late at night because she worked third shift, and literally read the handbook and learned it front and back. First day she got hired, when they was, you know, walking around and doing the orientation and things of that nature, she tells the captain, I'm coming for your job. I'm going to have your job. Give me a few years. I'm going to have your job. And she was one of those type. Every little thing, she's on. Your pants, pull your pants up. Where your belt at? Button your shirt up. Take your hands out of your pockets. Walk a straight line. Man, Tutor was a beast. Now, the thing about Tutor, by her reading that handbook, she was able to get away with a lot of things. See, a lot of rules are in the handbooks, but a lot of correction officers, they don't really go by the handbook. You see what I'm saying? Like, for instance, every morning, they would count at about 7:45. You had to be up, I don't know, probably about 7:30. As long as when they came through and count. Nah, I take that back. Let me rewind it. They would come through and count at about 7:45. At about 7:30, they would come through and do inspection. Just walking through, making sure everybody's bed area is cleaned up. We were in cubes, 4-man cubes. So we weren't in cells. And it was an open dorm, so it was like 50, I think it was 50 people per dorm. So they just walked through, just making sure that, the beds was made up. You didn't have food and bowls and stuff left out on the table. Just a simple walkthrough. So, that's just what it was. People would get up a little bit before 7:30, make sure their area was straightened up and lay back down. Not with Tutor. Tutor comes through that bitch at about 6:30. She comes through at about 6:30 yelling and screaming, get up. If you're not up and your bed's not made and you're out of your bed and you don't have your area clean, I'm writing you up. Writing us up? What do you mean? What part of the game is this? I mean, everybody else lets us sleep until 7:30, and you come with a handbook. CPC code says this, and she has a handbook, and she's showing by 6:30. Technically, by the handbook, we're supposed to be up, out of the bed, have our beds made, ready for inspection. She was the only one that did that. She wrote, I don't know, probably 200 people up one time. I might be exaggerating a little bit. Maybe about 100 people up. Dirty bed areas. It was crazy, man. So Tutor, she was one of those type people. She just, where's your ID at? Because, when you walk on the yard, you must have your ID visible, and it has to be like up here on your pocket. You can't just have it anywhere. You see what I'm saying? So she went strictly by the books. Then you got Rogers. Now, I did a story on Rogers. Rogers is a big, nasty, greasy, sloppy uniform, dirty boot, 12 sandwich eating SOB. He come in and he was just one of those guys that just miserable with his life. You could tell that he was miserable. You look at him, he obviously didn't have no woman. He may have had a cat or a dog or something like that, a pet at home. But as far as a woman, there's no possible way that he had a woman. And he would come in and just pick with people. Now, every day, the correction officers, they're required to do a certain amount of shakedowns. Shakedown is when basically they come to you, they put you in it, they put your hands behind your back, cuff you up. You have to sit in a chair while they shake you down. They go through your belongings, your properties, just make sure you don't have anything that you're not supposed to have. Most officers, man, they ain't even really looking for nothing. They're just for the cameras. Okay, I gotta do this shakedown, man. I'll make it quick. No problem. Rogers, man, some days he was all right, some days he wasn't. And the only reason that he was all right some days is because his big ass didn't want to do nothing. You see what I'm saying? So he wasn't really trying to work too much. Rogers would come through. He was known for, I'm going to tell you what Rogers was known for. He was known for looking at your commissary, your food. And if you don't have a receipt for everything in your locker, he's taking it. So, for instance, let's say you got 30 noodles in your locker. You have to be able to show a receipt for 30 noodles. Let's say you got 5 bags of chips. You got to be able to, show a receipt for the chips. Honey buns, cakes, anything. So you may only have a receipt. You got 10 honey buns, but you can only find a receipt for 7 honey buns. He's taking the other 3. Sodas, anything. He's taking them, and he's subject to write you up. I believe he was going to the office eating them snacks, to be honest, because that's what he was always looking for. Why are you always worried about somebody's food? Let me tell you, man, prison food is so nasty, so you got to get your hustle on somehow, some way in prison. You see what I'm saying? You got to eat. I guess Rogers felt like he had to eat too. And that was the dude that I told you. I'm not sure if you all seen the video on it, but he ended up on his way home from work one night, getting in a bad accident. He broke his neck. I think he broke his back. And, we never seen that guy ever again. But Rogers was a beast. Man, he was a beast. Then you got Martin. Martin was laid back. Kind of like Justin Bieber, as far as was only there to get his money. I don't care what y'all do. Just don't be in here killing each other. Just don't be in here just blatantly doing stuff in my face. I'm not going to bother y'all. Y'all don't bother me. He sit in his office. At the time, Martin had been there for 18 years. He needed 2 more years. He was retiring. He wasn't trying to be promoted. He was still Officer Martin. He didn't want to be a sergeant, lieutenant, none of that stuff. He was just trying to get to his retirement. That's all he wanted to do. Martin never wrote a person up. He wrote one person up in his entire 18 years at the time that I had been there. One person. And I forget what he said the reasoning was that he wrote that person up. But Martin, man, he was another one. When you seen that he was on shift, man, it was cool, man. Black dude. He was probably, I don't know, in his 50s at the time. Always wore the dark sunglasses. Walked through with his hands in his pocket. Didn't bother nobody. I'm talking about you wouldn't disrespect him by doing something in his face. But let's just say he caught you tattooing or he caught you, doing something that you're not supposed to do. He just gonna keep it moving. He ain't trying to write nobody up. You see what I'm saying? So there's all type of different personalities that you deal with when you're locked up, as Jay was saying. One dude, I don't even remember his name. He hadn't been there long. And I ended up getting out shortly after this happened. So I can't really recall his name. But we're going to go back to Officer Dickhead. That's a name that I've titled people previously. So we're gonna go to Officer Dickhead. That's what we're gonna refer to him by. Another little young dude, maybe 20, I don't know, 23, 24, maybe 25. Thought he was so tough. I'm talking about, man, he walked through like, I don't wrestle. Them guys walk through, with swag, with swagger. You can tell that they tough or they think they tough. That's how this guy walked through. When you're talking to him, he's looking up in the sky like it's, like he's not even really listening to you or whatever. So one day, he comes through to do a shakedown. As I mentioned, you have to do so many shakedowns per shift. He's one of them type guys, man, that when he does his shakedown, he does his shakedowns. It's not going to be no 2 or 3 minute shakedown. Like I said, they're going to cuff you, hands behind your back, and you got to sit in the chair. First of all, you're going to cuff you really tight. So you're like, come on, man. These cuffs is tight, man. Can you loosen the cuffs up? He's not doing none of that. So you sitting there, and the more you say to him, the longer he's going to take. So he's going through all of this particular individual. Now, let me paint a picture for you. The individual that he's shaking down don't bother nobody. Dude is cool, man. I'm talking about cool as a fan. We call him Laundry Man. The reason we call him Laundry Man is because he didn't have anybody sending him any type of money. Never asked anybody for nothing. Basically, he would do people's laundry. So, no, he's not washing boxers or anything like that. But, he might wash your socks out. He might wash your sweatsuit out for you. Because in prison, when you send your clothes to laundry, if you don't have a laundry man, now a laundry man, basically what they do is they might charge you maybe 2 bags of coffee a month. So what they do is they'll take your clothes out of your bag, because otherwise, if you don't have a laundry man, they'll throw all of your clothes in with everybody else's clothes, and they don't even take them out of the laundry bag. They just throw them in the washer, take them out of the washer, throw them in the dryer, and then when you get your clothes back, they're all dingy, they're wrinkled, they don't look very good at all. So if you get a laundry man, he's gonna take your clothes out of the bag, he's gonna wash them with some, nice washing powder. He's gonna put bleach in them, the whites or what have you, fold them up, put them back in your bag. So when you get your clothes, they smelling good, they looking good. Your white shirts are still white. Your boxers are still white. You know what I'm saying? Your socks are still white. Well, they had kind of cracked down on the laundry men. So they was like, we find out anybody's, doing personal laundry or what have you, that's a write-up. So a lot of guys wasn't really doing it as much. Remember, I'm at a camp. So opposed to being in an actual prison, you at a camp, you really trying to get home. So you're not trying to catch a write-up. So you had guys in the dorm, such as laundry man, they would do your laundry for you or whatever. And that's how he survived. And he lived very well in there. This particular day, it was his time to get, shook down or whatever. The Officer Dickhead, like I said, he cuffs him. He's going through his things. Dude, he's not into no dirt, nothing illegal. So He has a bottom bunk, and on the bottom bunk, you have somebody on the top. It's like a bunk beds. Well, at the top of his bunk, he had pictures of his kids. He had 3 kids, and they were stuck to his bunk. He had like maybe 4 or 5 pictures of his kids, and it's hard to get tape sometimes in prison. So if you don't have tape, you take what's called a state toothpaste that they give you once a month. Terrible. It's terrible for brushing your teeth with. You probably better off not even brushing your teeth opposed to using state toothpaste. Yuck. But at any rate, you use it as glue and you stick it to the back of your pictures, stick it on your bunk, and it stays there. It was one of those things. Technically, you're not supposed to have anything hung up like that, but it's one of those things to where most officers, they don't even pay attention to it, especially if it's pictures of your family, your kids, something to motivate you, encourage you to do the right thing, encourage you to, try to stay out, get out, and then stay out. Well, this particular day, this officer, I guess he was feeling real dickheadish, to say the least. And he took Laundryman's pictures. And, once the Laundryman, he was like, hey, man, can I get my pictures back? Dude was like, no, this is, it's contraband. So Laundryman was like, what do you mean it's contraband? We're not allowed to have, pictures of our family or whatever. So he was like, well, the rules say that you can't have these pictures, hanging up. And by you having them hung up like that, it's contraband. So Laundryman was like, I understand that, but nobody else ever says anything, man. I've been shook down several times. Nobody has said anything. He said, I tell you what, man, no problem. I won't hang them back up, but could you please give me my pictures? Because these are the only pictures that I got. These are the only pictures that I have of my kids. I done lost contact with, I don't have anybody on the outside. I believe maybe his parents were deceased at the time. And the mother of his kids, I don't know where she was at. So he was trying to explain to the officer, like, these are the only pictures that I have, officer. Could you please, give me my pictures back? The officer writes him up, and he was like, well, you'll go to court call. After you go to court call, that'll be determined if you get your pictures back. You go to court call, basically it's like a court, inside court, and most of the time you're going to lose at court call because you have another inmate representing you, so they'll read off the charges. Mr. Laundryman had pictures hung up, underneath his bunk and at the top of his bunk rather. And according to the handbook, code CPC 9.6, he was in violation. So you're gonna be found guilty at court call. Usually something minor like that, they'll just give you 40 hours extra duty. No big deal. Break the write-up down to where it didn't go on your record. So he goes, and when he goes to court call, somehow he beats it. They're supposed to give him his pictures back. They never give him his pictures back. They didn't give him his pictures back because Officer Dickhead had destroyed the pictures. So now, you can imagine, this is he hadn't talked to his kids in a couple years. He has nothing no pictures, no nothing. He was very, very sentimental. Those pictures were very, very sentimental. So he's pissed. I'm talking about he's pissed. One day it's count time. Officer Dickhead comes through. When they count, you got to have your ID up. I don't have an ID in front of me, so I'll just use this trident. You got to have your ID up like this, next to your face. So when they come through and count, Officer Dickhead, he comes through and he does his count. Well, Laundryman, he's mugging him like. After count clears, actually the count doesn't clear. After the officer completes his counts in all dorms, he calls Laundryman up to the control booth. Now the control booth was like, it's a booth in the middle of the dorm, and it's see-through, it's glass. So you got 5 different bays. A bay is just a dorm, basically, a dorm room that holds 50 people. So it's in a circle. You see what I'm saying? If I can paint the picture for you. So in the middle of this circle is the control tower. That's where the COs sit at. He calls him up there. Now, when he calls him up there, he actually lets him in. You're not really supposed to go inside of the control tower. Like, they have a line. You can come up to the door. Typically, you're not supposed to go inside, but he tells him to come inside. Nobody really thought anything of it, but you can see everything because, hell, everything is glass. Next thing you know, you can see that they're kind of going back and forth. You can see that Um, they're arguing to some capacity, but no one thought that anything would really happen. Laundry Man was the most laid back dude, but he was very upset about those pictures. Now, the officers, what they do is they have a they have a radio, and they keep the radio right here. It's the radio stays right here, like they have like a little, I don't know, some sort of compartment or what have you, like a holder. So the radio stays right here, and at the top of the radio, it's a red button. We call it the panic button. All them officers that talk tough and I do this, I do that, I take my badge off, we can go back here and fight, and I promise you I won't hold it against you. All the tough talk. As soon as something happens, guess what? They hitting that panic button. And they run in there like, the president's being assassinated or something. Yeah, I mean, it'll be 15 to 20 of them. They run in there as soon as the officer hits the panic button. Now, don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. There's some officers that will flat out get with you. It was an officer in our county jail. He was an MMA fighter. He had just turned pro, but, he wasn't really making a lot of money yet. So in order to support himself, he was a correction officer. They used to send him in. I've personally seen him whoop inmates, beat the brakes off of them. So I'm saying all officers ain't weak, and all officers are not bad. You see what I'm saying? There's some tough officers out there. So I just wanted to put that out there. But at any rate, he's in there and he's arguing with the dude about his pictures or whatever. He's telling him that he's going to write him up for reckless eyeballing. Reckless eyeballing is when, you staring at an officer, or you might get a reckless eyeballing when you're looking at a woman and they're saying basically that you're looking too hard. So they'll hit you with reckless eyeballing. But also when you mugging an officer, like, that's a form of reckless eyeballing. And it's a major write-up. I think it carries whole time. So Laundry Man comes back out. He tells everybody, yeah, man, the little punk, man, he's writing me up for reckless eyeballing, man. So, he's upset or whatever. So he goes back into the control tower. I guess he called him back in there. He's trying to get him to sign the write-up or whatever. Dude's like, I'm not signing nothing, man. You know what I'm saying? You took my pictures and, so he's going back to the pictures. Next thing I know, I look up in the control booth. And this little young, Officer Dickhead. I want to be respectful. I don't want to call him young punk. I want to call him by his real name, Officer Dickhead. Dude is beating the brakes off of him. I'm talking about, it's like on wrestling. Like on wrestling, you grab somebody by the back of the head, because dude had a little bit of hair. His hair wasn't long, but, he had hair to where you could just grab it. Dude had him by his hair. The laundry dude had him by the back of his head and was just ramming his head into the glass. That's not the type of glass that's going to break out. Like you hit it, it's not going to break. But he's ramming his head into the glass, the desk. He's kneeing him. He's hitting him. I'm talking about he's beating the brakes off of Officer Dickhead. Once again, respectfully. Now, when you see stuff like this happen, there's cameras in the control booth. So it's only a matter of time for the people come. The problem is people's not always doing their job in the security office. So, maybe they was out eating some donuts or, because they really think that they're real cops. So they like really bring in donuts and stuff like that. So perhaps they was out eating donuts or something like that and they didn't initially see it. Well, you always got some inmates that's trying to be a hero. Opportunists. That's what I call them. Inmates that, man, I'm going to go in there and help this officer. It's may, help me get out early. You see what I'm saying? This may help cut some, shave some time off my sentence. A couple dudes run in there. They grab, they grab Laundry Man off of him or whatever. Next thing you know, about 10, 12 of them come running in there. And, they grab Laundry Man, cuff him up, rough him up a little bit, and they take him out. I never, ever seen Laundry Man again. I never seen him. I would imagine that he ended up getting at least a year in the hole. And I would imagine that he lost all of his good time. And I would imagine that, obviously by now he's out. But I would imagine that they probably pressed charges on him and he picked up some more time. Nobody really wins in that situation. I guess if you look at it, Officer Dickhead won because he accomplished his goal. He got an inmate. I'm not going to say he did it, but he was a intricate part, if you will, of an inmate picking up more time and not going home to his family anytime soon. It's just a shame, man, because, you have officers like that, and they're solely there to try to push your buttons, man. They want you to hit them. They want you to cuss them out. They want you to spit in their face. They want you to Fleece Johnson them. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to Fleece Johnson, Big League Hustle Spirit 502. Y'all go check their channel out, man. But that's their goal. So, like I said, when Jay Williams dropped that video, it really, really made me think back to like, man, he's right. There are all type of different officers. The best thing to do when you're locked up, if you have to go through that unpleasant experience, stay out of all their faces, man. You see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they got a job to do. So no matter how cool they are, if the people come through and tell them, hey, cuff them up, they got to cuff you up. That don't make them bad people. I'm just saying they have, they have a job to do. But when you're dealing with these jerks, such as Officer Dickhead, you can't win. So it's best to just stay out of his way. If he wants to come and shake you down, all right, cool. Put your hands behind your back. Don't even say nothing, because now he knows, okay, I can't get a rise out of this guy. Pause. I can't get, I can't get a reaction out of this guy. So I'm going to leave him alone and go mess with somebody else that's going to be like, man, why you always shaking me down? What's your issue with me? Seem like you got a problem with me, man. I just got you. You just shook me down last time. See, those are the type guys that he would rather, try to entice to do something as far as hitting him or giving him a reason to write them up, to stop him from going home. Sad situation, man. You deal with all type of just different personalities in prison. So now you're dealing with the inmates, you're dealing with the administration, and you got to deal with these correction officers. See, the thing about a correction officer and the staff, correction officer does no wrong unless he's helping the inmate. So if he's bringing something into the inmate and he's doing something for him, they're going to fire you in a heartbeat and prosecute you. But if you can cuss an inmate out, you can call him racial, you can be racist towards him, no matter what you do, they're always going to have their officers back. And they're going to tell you got to go through the proper channels, file a grievance. Grievances don't even make it. What is a grievance? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't even make it past it gets thrown in the garbage can. And the officers know it. They'll tell you in a heartbeat, make sure you spell my name right on that grievance, because they know it's not going anywhere. You can't beat them people. So it's best to just kind of fall in line. It's always rules. It's just life. It's rules. We're not always going to like the rules. Oftentimes we're going to hate the rules. But it's either follow the rules or find yourself in penitentiary dealing with officers like Tutor, Rogers, Officer Dickhead. It's always officer, they feel as though the more of a jerk that they are, the faster they move up. But the people like Justin Bieber and the people like, Martin, they never go anywhere. Because they're not mean enough. They're not honoring enough to the inmates. Even though Martin, he didn't want to be promoted. He was just a good guy, like I said, that was just there to get his check. Real Kens TV, hopefully you liked the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the video, subscribe to the channel rather, if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive.